The world can seem upside down at times, which has set me on a journey in search for love, truth, and ultimately personal freedom. I'm on a mission to help people find peace and healing so that each of us as individuals and ultimately the collective can be free from whatever keeps us stuck and skews our view of just how beautiful this life can be. Welcome to the Lucas Mack Show. Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to another episode of the Lucas Mack Show. I am Lucas Mack, and really honored to have you join me on this episode. I took a little break, and I'm back, and it's this is, I think because I haven't done an episode in a few months that there was so much pressure building. I was bursting at the seams as soon as Brenden Whitney, my amazing guest, who's the second time I've had him on the show, started talking. We just went down some incredible conversations, and unfortunately I talked more than I asked him questions, and he was gracious enough. And in this, we talk about genetic structures of human life, the matrix, reality, Jesus, religion, the global events, timelines. What season are we in? Are we in Satan's little season at the end of Revelation in chapter 20? Are we in an eschatology period, more in dispensationalism? Are we waiting for the return of the Messiah? What is going on? The world seems to be on fire, and this is a fun episode. You're going to learn a lot about the Bible in this, in Genesis specifically, and the genetic code. So I hope you enjoy this. Buckle up, because this is a fun one. Well, brothers and sisters, it's been a while since I did an episode, and had to take a little break, and very happy to be back with my brother Brenden. Last time we had you on, or last time you were on, it was an awesome episode. We talked about cool and fascinating stories of your journey.
Yeah.
And I think tonight we're gonna do some more of it. Talk maybe some more broader philosophical issues. I don't know, eschatology and all sorts of stuff. But how are you doing, man? What's the latest with you?
I'm doing really good. Overworked, but God is doing his thing. There was I've been trying to reach Mormons better, more effectively, and I'm like, I just don't get it. Why am I not getting through? I'm a former Mormon, blah, 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 blah. Like, I understand, like, once you leave, they can automatically discredit anything you say. So I was prepared for that, but I was like, Jesus, help me, like, get through to them.
Yeah.
And then immediately my job moved me to upgrading the LDS church networks. So I'm in Mormon churches all day long, walking around like, this is different than what I remember. Like 10 years ago, it was like Jesus at the entryways, and then it was all prophets everywhere in like the offices, and now it's like Jesus everywhere. And I'm like, that rebrand really changed things. No wonder I'm not getting through. Like, I'm speaking to Mormons from 10, 15 years ago, and like that church has changed.
That's
so
interesting.
Yeah, that's been a real interesting adventure lately.
This whole everything hinges on who is Jesus.
Yeah.
Everything. The Talmud claims, so many people think that Judaism doesn't acknowledge Jesus, but Maimonides and maybe it wasn't Maimonides or Rambam, but there were some rabbis that mentioned that they battled with Jesus, and they urinate on him and they defecate on him, and like basically they're trying to put him down. But even in the Talmud and like the sick doctrine and some of the writings acknowledge Jesus. Then someone slams their finger and they cry out Jesus Christ or whatever. I mean, everything hinges on who is Jesus. And the Christian world thought they had a monopoly on the name and the being and the personage of Jesus. And then this was back, I don't know, 2014, 2015. I was at one of my clients had this booth at it was like a local city fair, I guess. It was like booths and vendors and selling stuff. And this Muslim booth, their big sign said, "Who is Jesus?" And I'm like, this is so fascinating. So I walk out and I start talking to the imam and some of the Muslims, and all the women were in burqas. I could only see their eye slits, and I have the Quran that they gave me in here, and I read it, and it's like the NIV version of the Quran. It's like
Yeah.
contemporary, really watered down version, but it's fascinating that here Islam will claim Jesus. And um,
Do you have, which version do you have? I got this guy.
let's see that I got this one. It says a new
New
translation.
translation. Okay.
Yeah, a new translation by this cat here, but Oxford World Classic. So
Okay.
who?
Is it
I
the
mean, who knows? But my point is like everyone's claiming, and then like the Hindus, um, there's even talk of Jesus going to India, and
Yeah.
the whole thesis of there's this whole thesis that Brahmins, the priest class of India, which is still the caste system, so the Brahmins are the highest. They're named
Yes.
the Brahmins from Abraham, that Abraham taught many spiritual gifts all around the world, and the Brahmins are still of that lineage of Abraham. And then Jesus went and learned from the Brahmin class, and I mean, it's fascinating that so many cultures and so many religions and so many groups talk about this character Jesus. And I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to minimize it, and I don't necessarily need to maximize it right now, but it is the great question:
Yeah.
who was and who is Jesus?
It's funny you mentioned that. I've been working on a little documentary. It was a Who Is section, and I was going to do Joseph Smith, and then one other one, and Jesus. And
Mm,
every time I worked on the Jesus one, my camera would stop working, my lights would go out, something just wouldn't work, and I'm like,
fascinating.
what is happening here?
Fascinating.
So I was like, all right. And then the Epstein files came out, and like it wasn't even a conscious just decision of like, okay, there's the evil. It was more just like, oh, there's the path I would have been going down, and
Yep.
those are the people I would have been associating with. Because I would have just been like, oh, you guys are funny, haha, you eat babies, da, 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 and just totally blown them off. I care about my art more than your crazy little
Yep.
cult thing.
Yep.
And it was just so eye-opening. And ever since then, recently, my Bible collection,
Dude, I love it. I love it, bro. Welcome,
like
welcome to the club, man. This is great.
it's just, and I have more coming like just every day. I'm like, oh, there's a theology one. Okay, get that one.
Yep,
It's just
dude.
nuts. And I'm like, I just want to know as much as I can and just put on that armor so I'm as prepared as I can be. Because I really like at first I was like, all right, which denomination is it? I'm like, I'm the next Joseph Smith, I guess. Which denomination is it?
Yeah,
And I started with Orthodox, and I was like, you know what? I really just love the traditions of like that have just survived. And I'm like, I don't care which denomination is correct.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure God was like, you know what? I need to meet everyone where they're at.
yeah,
And Brenden leaving Mormonism, going on his path, is not going to set foot in a Greek Orthodox church
yeah.
unless he goes to a community church first.
Hmm.
So God's got a plan for all of them, and I don't care which one is the true one. He's going to lead me there, and I'm just going to do my best to bring people towards Jesus because that's what matters now.
I love it. I love it, brother. It gives me chills, and I love it. And what most people don't understand, even what's going on, like even in Iran, they're liberating the Zoroastrians and
Yeah.
Zoroastrianism and the ancient teachings, that those were where the three wise men came that honor Jesus, that worship, that literally followed astrology to the point that they understood the creator had put signs in the sky to tell the times. And even Jesus said, look up. Everything is written, and everything is coded. And so there's great truths uncovering themselves or being uncovered right now. And what people don't really understand, you brought the Orthodox Church up. And why did Bolshevik Jews
Ooh,
and deep communism? So we're going to go into
we're
some
gonna.
really interesting things, but I don't want to. And I say this with deep respect and love for the Jewish community. It's most people like Christians or Mormons, they don't know the origin. You just are grown up in it, and of course you're going to love a heritage
Yeah,
and culture and legacy and nostalgia and tradition. Of course, like that's natural. But without,
yeah,
it does say in Proverbs, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And it also says, remove not the ancient landmark which your fathers have set before you. Why? Because if we lose the landmark of where we've come from, we have no idea or bearing of where we actually are going towards. And so, contextually, it's super interesting. You have the Bolshevik Revolution that kills the Tsar of the Orthodox Church. Now, the Tsar of the Orthodox Church is not just Russia, it's not just the Russian Empire. The split in the Roman Empire was Western Rome and Eastern Rome. And the Eastern Rome is where the Orthodoxy is considered unbroken lineage from Constantine. And then you
right.
have Western Rome, which the Kaiser of Germany, Kaiser and Czar are the same word. One is the German phonetic sound and one is the Russian phonetic sound. But you have two heads, two Caesars essentially, and Kaiser and Czar are Caesar. Czar, Kizar, the two battling Caesars, the two empires. So then Rome, Western Rome, what we know the Vatican today, backs Adolf Hitler and funds him to go fight and invade Stalingrad. And this is the battle and the clash between East and West. This is not a battle of good guys and bad guys. It's a battle of Rome trying to reconquer their kingdom over the world. And
Interesting.
all of it is Satan's kingdom, I believe. I believe Rome is Satan's kingdom. And
Okay.
what is more satanic than to take the king or the personage, the king of kings, the king that ruled? When you say long live the king, you sent me that incredible video of
Yeah,
every culture all around the world say has the saying long live the king, because I believe the king already reigned for 1,000 years, and then this parasitic empire came in, inherited all these buildings and architecture and all these things, claimed that it was theirs, and then
yeah,
puts the king in a withered body on a cross, and every day says they're blessing people
right.
by really cursing this person who we're trying to identify today. Why does everything hinge on Jesus? That is super interesting.
It's yeah, everything. And you pull in you every doesn't matter which thread you start, you're gonna find the rabbit hole and it's gonna be like, oh, it's Jesus.
It's Jesus.
Whether everyone's pro Jesus or anti Jesus, it's Jesus.
Yes.
Like it's crazy.
Yes. And Yeshua is his name. And I've been on this journey for so long. I can't tell you how many podcast episodes I've done of like asking people, is it, does Jesus mean Jesus, hail Zeus of Zeus? Then they're like, no, it's Iusis, Isis,
Yeah,
Isa. Like I've heard all this in the I, and the J didn't exist and it was the I. But the Hebrew phonetic sound, or the sixth book in the Bible. So this is kind of cool. I'll just give you something real quick. So
go
the
for it.
sixth book in the Bible is the first book named after a man, Joshua.
Okay.
Okay, so you have all the five preceding five books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy,
That's right.
not named after a man. But the sixth book of the Bible is named after a man. And in that name, Joshua, let's count how many letters: Joshua. Six letters. Now, here's where it gets even cooler. The sixth book in the New Testament, let's count them out: Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, Romans, The word
R-O-M.
man is
And
in it, and let's count out the letters of Romans. R
Romans.
O A M A N S. Romans, six letters too. Now here's what's cool.
Oh,
Man was created on the sixth day.
that's true.
Six is the number of man. There are 66 books in the canonized text without the Apocrypha. Man is buried 6 feet deep. Time revolves around six. The mark of the beast is considered 666, which is a processing number. Six times three is 18. And so every barcode anywhere, oh, barcode in here. I don't know if, yeah, there's one on here. Any barcode anywhere has these two lines here without a
Right.
number, two lines in the middle without a number, two lines on the end without a number. Anyone can look this up. Those represent six. 666 is the processing of the entire matrix code.
Huh.
So it says, here is wisdom, here's the number of man, 603 score and six, 666. So everything revolves. We are in a six system. Okay. God rests on the seventh, and on the eighth day, he rises again. So where was I even going with this? Is that there's this greater narrative, and it all hangs on Jesus. Oh, thanks. Thanking you. All of a sudden, it got back to me. So Jesus's name is Joshua in English. This is what always confused me. Confused me. Why did they call him Jesus when there's an English name to Yeshua? Yeshua's name in English is Joshua.
Yeah.
In Yeshua, it means salvation because Joshua means salvation. Yeshua means salvation. God saves. Because in a
Okay.
whole world of darkness, the only thing that provides comfort to an individual is hope. And it says in Proverbs, I'm sorry, I'm talking, I will talk to you, but I just setting all
Go.
this stuff up. It's so fascinating. It says in Proverbs that hope deferred makes a heart sick. And look at our world right now. We have sick hearts. People are dying from despair, dread, lack of hope, the black pills. Everyone's black pilled. Like, oh God, everyone's black pilled. Well, it's because they have no hope. And they
Yeah.
don't have hope because there's not something that is greater than the matrix system in their internal belief doctrine. So then this is, and I'll stop in just a sec, but this has been so cool for me. So finally, I'm like, yes, Yeshua is his name. But then there was this narrative of, is it Yahweh? Is it Jehovah? Is Yahweh one of the pagan gods that was taken in? The Christian church has taken in the Yahweh name. I have books saying that Yahweh was one of the gods that isn't the most high and is the creator God, all these things.
So you've gone down the Marcionism rabbit
Oh yeah,
hole.
all of it, and it's super fascinating. And for some reason, like I couldn't like get aligned on the Yahweh, and I watched these videos of breath work, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yah," or, but then I
Yeah.
watched this other video, and all these videos are popping up recently, and I'd say the past 3 months of Yahuwah, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, that's interesting, Yahuwah, which is more accurate to the phonetic sound. And then I was like, and then I realized, wow, to put the S, because Yeshua, it's the same word, except you put the S in, the salvation is in the middle. So
Middle.
what does salvation mean? It means to be placed in the middle. Now I have chills. In the middle. It's in the middle of God. And it says in Proverbs or Genesis chapter 2, verse 16, and God breathed into man, and man became a living soul. So the word neshama is the Hebrew word for soul, and it means breath. So we are all experiencing, I think, a deeper breath because truth is, bro, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk to you and ask you questions,
You're
but
good.
more truth leads to deeper breath. Deeper breath meets the deeper experience of breath inside of ourselves, God's expansion of our soul. Truth, we're here, man. We're exploring things that the church says taboo, or this is antithetical, or it's new age. Like none of these terms matter anymore. I've been called everything. And I'm like, I could care less. All I care about is truth. I just want truth. I just want freedom. And I want to walk in the unconditional, infinite, unending love of the Most High God. To walk, and these words don't even, what does it mean? But I want to be in the S of Yahuwah, Yeshua.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
bro,
so cool.
it
That's
is
so cool.
fun. It's fun. And no group owns that. That's what's, I think, even cooler.
True.
No group owns, no denomination, no doctrine, no religion. Um, there's antithetical groups to that. But so anyway, where are you at on this journey? Because leaving the LDS, I know you talked last time, but I mean, just even
Yeah.
recap your journey has been pretty cool to.
So, yeah, I mean, I've only been baptized as a Christian maybe a little over a year, year and a half. And that first 6 months, looking back, was very much a logical decision. It was like, okay, here's all the evidence. It all points to Jesus. I need to get baptized and like give
Mm,
myself to Jesus. Like, check. I'm saved. Check.
yeah,
Um, but for me, that's not enough. I was like, okay, like I can't just show up to church once a week. Like, but I also don't want to like just dive into the wrong denomination and like all this stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna let Jesus work his thing because like I had a hard heart
mm,
going in. Like I still was just like, I don't trust people. I don't like people. Um,
yeah.
like, and
That's
then having a conversation like this, if I brought up anything that was remotely outside their canon or they didn't
yeah,
agree with,
right.
it was like, bam, you're not a Christian. You can't talk to me. Da 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 da. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, these are just like theories. Like I can't even bring up a Marcion. Like I talked about the Marcionism, and I was like, that's probably the most fun
Mm,
belief system I have because like Jesus and this unknown, the Father going from planet to planet basically as spiritual EMTs,
yeah.
saving spirits from these. Like, that's a really cool idea. That's a fun idea.
Mhm.
The fact that Jesus has to get crucified to save himself from this particular God, like, not a big fan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then hearing that Yahweh is actually evil is like, I've been hearing that since like the beginning. I'm like, that's so like in tune with Satanism.
Yeah.
And I've got a theory about
Yeah.
not a
What is it?
theory.
I want to hear it.
Not a theory, but like I've been tracking Satan's progress, I guess.
Hmm.
And he just keeps getting bolder and bolder.
Yeah.
And so like he just keeps upping himself for his greatest accomplishments.
Yeah.
So like his first one, like he tried to tempt Jesus and give him everything and he failed.
Hmm.
So he's like, okay, Jesus came back to life. How do I counter this? It's spreading
Hmm.
like wildfire. What do I do? So he's probably spreading lies like Yahweh's evil. Maybe that'll get traction. And then finally one starts to get traction of he was never crucified. And
Hmm.
Muhammad takes that one and it spreads like wildfire. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool, I've got some traction now. And it starts to fight back. And so this next one is like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? I can get Christians to perform satanic rituals in Christ's name. So he goes after the Catholic Church. He brings in Joseph Smith. They're going into their temples, and he's just like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
what's next? I don't exist.
Hmm.
So that's where we're at. I mean, he doesn't exist. Well, now you're past the point of he doesn't exist. Now we're to the point where they're openly worshiping him.
Yeah.
So now he's going to get even more bold. And this is where that Antichrist comes in because he's like, you know what? Everyone loves me. Here I am. Worship me.
Hmm.
That's just
Hmm.
his next progress. And it's
I like it.
that's
Keep going. Keep
that's
going. I
that's
like it.
my that's what I can see happening with him. And also when Gen X and the millennials reach that 50 to 60-year-old age,
Hmm.
when we're no longer a threat, they're gonna shut the internet off.
Hmm.
Because we're the last generation that knows how to survive without it. These younger kids, as smart as they are, like they're geniuses, but without the internet, I don't see them functioning very well.
Interesting.
So you
Interesting.
cut off
That's
the internet,
really cool.
you cut off the internet to the masses, keep it for your top elite, and now these guys can communicate with whatever they need to do. They can message and send whatever war fear mongering they need to. And the plebs are just going to be like, well, I don't have internet, so this guy must be close.
Hmm.
Instead, he's in Bermuda in some
Right.
island doing
Right.
whatever Satanists do.
Right.
Like it's uh I really hope Jesus comes back because I don't like
Hmm.
what I can see the future becoming. And yeah, that's yeah, bring it home to positive.
Man, well, I appreciate it. Here's I'll share a couple of things. I have a really good friend. Um, who's a Hasidic rabbi. I haven't actually talked to him for maybe a couple years, so but I love him dearly. I learned with him and studied with him weekly for 3 years and supported his shul and just really love the guy. And if I've even had him on my podcast, which I think was unique for him because in that community, it's very insular and it's not necessarily outside of that community. And I really appreciate him coming on the podcast. But he said something to me one day and it just radically rocked my world. And I will say, he loves God. He loves
Yeah.
God. One thing that I loved about him, and I feel this in me right now, he loves God. And since I knew scripture so well, he was like blown away. He's like, how do you know this? And we just had fun. I mean, I was reading Jewish Safers and I mean, we had a blast. He said something to me early on before I started really studying with him weekly. He said, if you don't understand Satan, they say Satan, that's how they pronounce it. But if you don't
Yeah.
understand Satan as God's greatest servant, then you don't understand God. And I was like, okay, Brenden, it detonated in my brain. Okay, so I was like, and what he said is this, this is what I really love about Torah Judaism, that God is so supreme. Now they say that God can't take physical form because to take physical form would bring down. God is so great, so big, so beyond. I mean, there is such a beautiful, glorifying thought, and they don't even say God; they say Hashem. Once in a while, they say God, but Hashem, the name of God, like to even say the name is like it's so holy. It's a beautiful concept. Like Christians like dole it out like it's just some change in your spare pocket. Like, it's like
Yeah.
they think they have the ownership of God and truth and Bible and like all these things, but there's this beauty, like deep, deep, deep reverence, more than I think what I've been to Catholic Church. I've never stepped into the Orthodox Church, but I've watched many sermon church services online, and I understand the deep reverence and all those things. But I'm telling you, like we're studying with him, there was like this deep reverence of a holy God, and he said, "Does anything operate outside of God's will?" That's the first question he asked me, and I had to think about that. Does it or does it not? Because from that question, you can see two different worldviews. I mean, the entire matrix can be created or destroyed by that question. Is God sovereign, and does anything happen outside of his will? And I was wrestling, and I'll let you talk. Let me finish this thought because it's a
Hey.
mind blower, right? So
Hey.
so what I was asking him about and what I wrestled with for many years, and I have come to conclusive peace inside myself. What I was asking him about was free will. When does free will begin? I cannot. I At the time I still can't because I have a different view of free will now. But I could not fathom that free will begins from birth. It did not even logically make sense to me that something of free will had to be eternal in my mind. And then this is when Rabbi Brody said, well, yeah, in Judaism, we teach about the three states of the soul before the body, the soul in the body, and the soul after the body, which then aligned to, and I was able to draw from, according to dispensationalists, which goes into another whole rabbit hole, but it says
Oh,
a day with the Lord, it says 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. So the whole theory in dispensationalism is that from Adam, who wasn't the first man, because in Genesis 1:26 it says, let us make man after our image, male and female created he them, and told them to replenish the earth. And then it says in Genesis chapter 2 that there was a mist that went up from the whole face of the ground because there was not a man to till the earth. And you're like, wait, where did those people go in Genesis 1? Because because there's bad teaching that Genesis 2 is a microcosm of 1, and it's not. But anyway, maybe we'll get in that later. But he was saying three states of the soul and free will. And according to dispensationalists, we're only in this body for 6 minutes. Because if so from Adam to from Adam to Jesus is 4,000 years. So you get, watch this. So day one, 1,000 years. Day two, 2,000 years. Day three, 3,000 years. Day four, 4,000 years. Now in Genesis chapter one, in the days of creation, the first day that life was put into a living creature is day five. And Jesus comes on day five, and the first time he speaks to a non-Jew was the Samaritan woman at the well. And his disciples freak out and they're like, "You shouldn't be here. What are you doing?" And it says,
Yeah.
"It's good that I abide here." And it says he stayed with them for 2 days. So Jesus stayed with the Gentile world. This is according to dispensationalism. I'm not saying I believe this or not believe this, but
Right.
I was wrestling with free will. So I was drawing from this when Rabbi Brody was telling me about the three states of Judaism of the soul: soul before the body, soul in the body, soul after the body. And so Jesus stays with the Gentile world for 2 days, aka 2 years. So day five, 5,000 years. Day six, 6,000 years. And at the end of day six, what does God do? He rests. So day seven was the millennial reign of Christ. So that's what dispensationalists believe. That's where you get the 6,000 years of creation, not this old earth, old
Yeah.
world, like fundamentalist conservative Christianity based on dispensationalist belief. That's where you get this new earth. And it's, for me, infuriating. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, that's where it goes. So I was always
I'll
taught that we're
take I'll take New Earth over Flat Earth though.
okay. That's another rabbit hole.
Oh,
But but real quick, I was just getting back to, if you don't understand, so sovereignty, and I was
yeah.
wrestling with free will, and is God, does anything happen outside of God's will? And if it does, then why would Jesus teach us when you pray? He doesn't teach us how to preach. He doesn't teach us how to do anything except to pray. When you pray, pray, "Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be
Yeah.
thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread." Okay. So this concept of claiming God's will
Yeah.
on earth. So anyway, I was wrestling with all this. And when Rabbi Brody said, "If you don't understand Satan's God's greatest servant, you don't understand God." Now, I'm going to bring it back to what you said, because there's a little bit of, maybe I would call a little black pill feeling in there. But this is what I think. Right? We hear this, that Jesus says, "In that day, thou will hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant." But he also gives parables that says there were wicked servants. He doesn't say they're not servants. They had their one talent and they hid it because they thought that the master was an austere, harsh man that would deal harshly with them. So they didn't want to lose that one that they had. Instead of giving it away and living in abundance and like really going for it to give back to the master who gave that talent, the one talent, the two talent, the five talent,
Yeah.
give that out. He deals and calls that a wicked servant, but it doesn't say he's not a servant. So then Jesus is saying, "In that day, you should be called, well done, thou good and faithful servant." So I've been thinking about this for a long time. If I just accept Jesus in a current without Satan, like if we like, here's the question: why does 3D duality even exist? Why aren't we just in nirvana? Why are we not even in a, like, DMT flooding our brain, MDMA flooding our brain? Like, we have the chemical ability to just unbelievably blissed out without any additives. It's within us. Why aren't we there? I think this, because God has given us the season to say, despite it all, God, despite it all, in the face of everything, I still chose you, which is why it's never too late. At the very last 11th hour, it's still not too late to jump out of the current that Satan is dragging. His job is to drag it all as far as he can go to
Right.
serve the Most High God. So then when God says to the individuals who chose him, "Yes, you did a good job. You popped out of the
Yeah.
current." So anyway, brother, that's how I see it all. It's like I'm actually enjoying this whole show because have so much respect for people that break out of the current. There's traps everywhere, denominational traps, Bible traps, theology traps, flat earth traps, or what. There's traps everywhere, like you're saying. I do
Yeah.
think Satan like keeps going, and then it's incredible for the free thinkers to go, "Well,
Yeah.
oh," and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, your words don't have any power over me.
Yeah.
Your telling me I'm going to hell means nothing to me. Like I love God more than I hate hell. Do you understand that? And nothing that you can ever say to me can
Yeah.
take that desire to walk in the presence of God away.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Unless you,
that's why I think Satan's purpose is let him do it.
yeah. I
Not that
mean,
we have any control over him not doing it, but
I mean, well, that makes perfect sense because like God's gonna do this test. It's like, how do I find out if people truly love me? I got to give them free will. They need the choice of
yes,
going the complete opposite direction.
that's right.
And you have this, I mean, our ego, straight from the get-go, creates Satan, and Satan's like, I'm better than him.
Mm,
God's like, nope. And then it's like, I'm gonna prove it. Or not prove it, like not even prove it. He's just like, well, I'm gonna take them this way then. I'm
mm.
gonna get them to worship me as long as I can. But I wanted to touch on something because the what the one dude said, knowing Satan being so important to however he phrased it.
God's plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was having a discussion in Bible study and with this pastor, and I said I understood Judas better because we were looking at the cultural context of a situation. And with Judas, it's such a understanding Judas is such a good character study for yourself because once you understand Judas and you can put yourself there, you know what to watch out for. With Judas, he's right there along with Jesus this whole time, looking, seeing all these miracles.
Yeah.
But what he's expecting, like all the other Jews were expecting and hoping for, was this prophet like Moses who's going to lead them out of,
Yeah.
like similar to Egypt, out of Rome and take down the empire and free them, blah, blah, blah. So that's what he's hoping for. So he's got these blinders on
Mm,
and all the similar to like what we can do. It's so easy to focus on what we want Jesus to be that we are blind to who he is. So
mm,
with Judas, he's like, I want him so badly to lead me out of this. I'm ignoring all these other miracles that 50 pieces of silver, and Satan's able to just go, here you go.
mm,
And then after everything's said and done, that's when that veil gets lifted and Satan lets him go and he's like, "Oh, I just killed God." And
mm.
it's too late for him because like he even says it was better for him to have never been born
Right.
because he was so blinded and wanted Jesus to be something so badly. And Jesus was like, "No, this is who I am.
Right.
This is what I'm here to do." And
That
oh,
I'm gonna share some. I'm not saying I believe it. Everyone, not that I haven't triggered anyone already or everyone already, but
this
the
is the
not
trigger episode.
yeah, this is the trigger episode. Buckle up. Um, there's a Gnostic gospel of Judas. Now, it
Interesting.
wasn't written by him, I don't think. There's no proof, but there is a Gnostic gospel of Judas, and it's really beautiful, but it's very challenging. And that Judas, what I'm about to say, I already know is going to like jolt everyone, but that Judas was Jesus's greatest disciple in that he knew what his role was. So forget the narrative of the 30 pieces of silver and the
Yeah.
Rome and the Sanhedrin and all that narrative. Sure, that's one perspective. The other one was knowing that Jesus had to conquer everything. Someone had to be the one to do it. And Jesus and him had an agreement of his role. And that's why he turned to him and he said, like, basically, go do what you have to do. He didn't stop him
Yeah.
because that was the journey Jesus had to not just conquer their physical 3D empire, but just show us all that the 3D empire is not the 3D existence is not the reality of our existence. That you can get into. I heard someone say the other day, "I'm not a 3D. I'm living in 5D, maybe 8D." I'm like, okay, who can
What?
say? I've read it all about
Yeah.
the densities and the dimensions and the octaves and the different things, but regardless, Jesus showed that. this 3D reality is not all that there is. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm not saying the Gospel of Judas is true, but it's a different perspective. I think what I'm on this journey of is like if God is sovereign and God, nothing operates out of the will of God, then even, and this is what I've had to reconcile. Like I grew up in a really bad situation. People grow up in worse. The Epstein files reveal that they're farming human life to consume human life, and the whole darkness of that exists in this world. And yet, how can God be good? This is one of the biggest questions, regardless of like all the theology and doctrines. How can God be good? They even say that the internet, we only have access to 15% of what's available on the internet. It's probably less now with Google because Google just constricts and people go to Google and just constricts what's even available. And then all the chat and all the AI engines still are constrictive. And then they say that 85% of the internet's the dark web. And what you can get
Yeah.
on the dark web right now are snuff films and horrific real life, like the worst of the worst of the worst of no human brain, no natural human thinks about that evil, but it exists. How can God be good and allow this to exist? And I really believe in soul contracts. And this is where I pulled on Rabbi
Mm.
Brody's the soul exists before the body, during the body, and after the body, because I had this experience with God. I don't know if I talked about this on our first podcast episode, but I was at a retreat and I had this incredible experience. All of a sudden, I was taken up right next to God, and we were looking down at these conveyor belts. I mean, as far as I could see, conveyor belts, and they were all going straight. But from my perspective, it all looked like it was going to one big light. And later, the movie from Pixar, Soul, I think it was Soul that came out, showed exactly what I saw 5 years before. And I was like, what is going on? But what I saw were all these bodies on a conveyor belt. And God asked me, which one do you want to jump in? And I saw my body, I saw my dad's body that preceded me, and what these were generational lines. And we were given the option to jump into any one of the bodies, but before we jumped in, we saw what would happen when we jumped in the body. So the stillborn saw what the stillborn would experience, the Down syndrome, the sacrificed, all the things. But then the greater thing was this: what was the ripple effect of every person? So maybe the stillborn, I saw this in this vision, or I don't even know, this profound experience that the stillborn saw that I might break the parents' hearts, but the way the nurse and the parents interacted changed the course of the nurse's history, and she went to make a great impact. And we saw a greater plane perspective of why we even exist in these physical realms and what the reaction was, because we didn't just affect our line, we affected every other. The ripple was constant. And I saw that, oh, my dad played the devil so that I could be the light. Did my dad not serve God to make me who I am today? Now, this is a hard concept,
I
but
mean,
where does free will? Goes back to free will.
yeah.
Where does free will begin? I think it's always existed. And the suffering in this is why Paul says the suffering in this present world is not to be compared to the glory that is to come, because this 3D world is not real. It's just a, you know, David writes, it's but a vapor which appeareth for a little bit and then vanishes away. It's like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at, where it's like, I think God is just putting us in these, we are choosing in agreement with Him to come into this world and experience the suffering and the pain and the trauma, and the parasitical class does not. They do, but they don't in the way we perceive suffering, because it seems like they have everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is just what I'm wrestling with. I'm not preaching it as truth. It's just how these are some of the things that
Yeah.
at least it's brought peace to me of like, okay.
I mean, there's what's that quote about he who wrestles with God finds knowledge or some I can't remember what it is. He who wrestles with, I gotta look it up.
Yeah, let's look it up. Let's do it. Said Jacob wrestled with God. He said, I won't let you go um, until you bless me, which is also a beautiful teaching of most people have never wrestled with God.
I don't know.
Huh.
Just one.
But
It'll
I
pop.
like the concept.
Yeah,
Maybe it's your quote that you have to
maybe,
start telling people.
maybe. Yeah, I mean, the past year wrestling with God,
Mm,
because I mean, once I got baptized, I started trying to understand the Trinity more. Because
mm.
once you understand the Trinity, then you can actually have conversations with Trinitarians and Godhead people and all
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah.
Because then it's like growing up Mormon, I didn't understand the Trinity at all. Like I would make very off-color jokes that made no sense, and I get it. So like,
Mm,
yeah, that was part of the journey, and then just like me trying to be like, look, God, I am not this peaceful, hey, you need to come to Jesus. I am like, give me a sword and let me go slay some demons. Like,
yeah.
give me something like that. And he's like, you gotta slay your own demons first, dude.
Mm,
So yeah,
mm.
overcoming that, but like I'm such a like, let's just storm Washington and throw the pedophiles in the ocean type of thing. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's God's plan is so much bigger
Yes,
that I have to remember that. And
yes, yes.
while that's all happening, what he needs me to do is something different, clearly. And
And I think too, to just as an encouragement, I'm not trying to be like the hope dealer here, but only one third of the angels supposedly, I mean, there's doctrine around it, but it's not as explicit. One third of the stars fell, but there's two-thirds of angels working on our behalf. Like
yeah,
they're all around us. They're doing their thing. Like I really think Satan's biggest job is to take our hope away. And when we don't have hope, our hearts get sick. And when our hearts get sick, we get, like
yeah,
Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So, and I think hope only comes from vision. So it says where there's a lack of vision and people perish, and the hope deferred makes the heart sick. So we have to reclaim a vision, I think, of who God is in the first place before we even get into like, so can the king be defeated? And it says in
yeah,
the Bible that he's made us more than conquerors. Well, what is more than conqueror? It's one who cannot be conquered. So if we cannot be conquered, then it doesn't matter this physical realm. Our job is to continually love and bless and show. But it's
yeah,
also, I have the fuck you, like I want to go get him too.
yeah. A poor evil, like it's in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. No, it is.
So
It's so fascinating. Where are you at with we talked a little bit before, just the preterism and that whole the Satan's little season and that
yeah.
whole concept.
So like I was trying, it was really the Iranian stuff that made me look into it
Hmm.
because even Xerxes we get wrong because Greek propaganda. He
Yeah.
never called himself a god king. He just
Hmm.
saw himself as the greatest king who was appointed by God
By God.
in his religion, which would have been oh,
Zoroastrianism,
oh,
maybe, or
yeah, Zoroastrian, Zor, that word,
I don't know how to say it either. I
Zoroastrianism.
don't
It's
know.
exactly what it was. But Ahuna Varaya is the holiest guy. That might be wrong. But he saw himself as like God's appointed king, ruler of the world type of thing. And he started putting his own title, the great king, king of kings, king of the world, king of all the people, king of the earth. And
Hmm.
when you start calling yourself king of kings, king of the earth, that's when your empire falls
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
only one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So either either Jesus came back, ruled for 1,000 years, and Satan hated it so much that he completely wiped that from our record, which I think is very possible given
Yep.
who wrote our history books.
Yep. Mr.
And
Maxwell.
Mr. Maxwell.
Yeah.
And then you have these new these protests, these no kings protests, like they can sense him coming back. Um, and that's why you have all these cultures like this deep sense of like we the human kings suck. We screw it up every time. We need an eternal king, a king of kings who's just gonna live forever and oversee everyone and be the Prince of Peace
Hmm.
and all this stuff, which you get in the Persian Empire, you can find it in the Chinese cultures, you can find it pretty much everywhere,
Yeah.
which is what starts making me go, okay, maybe it did happen. Because Mr. Maxwell is so evil and is like, you know what? We're just gonna erase all of this. It didn't happen. That 1,000 years, we're just gonna squish it together. The Great Reset, all
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, how do we
I
even
get
get the
it.
term Great Reset? They told us again. Klaus Schwab is a Rothschild
Yeah.
lineage. They told us again the Great Reset's coming. I mean, so we even got the concept. We were like just like plugging along 2019,
Well,
like boop-a-doo, and they're like, oh, Great Reset. And we're like, wait, what? And all of a
what?
sudden you look back in history, like, how many times have you guys done this? And the Epstein files talk about how they could transfer souls from one body to the next. So
Yep.
these beings are the vampires that consume what? To live forever.
And they
What
consume
do they
blood.
hate? Light. Who did Jesus call us? Unqualified. He did not say, if you believe in me, if you follow me, if you love me, if you obey my commands. He starts that ye are the light of the world. What? And
Yeah.
this parasitical class that has existed since the serpent and Eve had relations have existed to consume the light. And here's what's super interesting I find. So let me grab Bibles. I'm gonna grab another book too.
Go for it.
So God asked Adam and Eve three questions. The very first conversation recorded between God and man in the Bible, God asked three questions. It says in Genesis chapter 3, verse 8, and they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. It's like, dude, that is such a I don't know if there's a more beautiful, merciful, peaceful, and gentle prose, knowing the context that they had hidden themselves and had already taken of the fruit and already what had happened. God wasn't angry. He wasn't rushed. He didn't. And it gets back to a question more like Rabbi Brody: is God? Does anything happen outside of God's will? Well, does God know everything? The answer is yes, I believe. So then why does he say this? I'll just read it because Genesis chapter 3, verse 8, it's really interesting. Genesis means genetic code, the genealogy. But it's not just the genealogy of he begat, he begat, he begat, he begat. It's literally the genetic code. And Genesis chapter 1 is all about the seed in itself. The seed in itself. The seed in itself. Read how many times God says the seed in itself, and it was good because they were already crossbreeding. There was already uh, chimeras and all sorts of creatures. Why do you get horse man stuff? I forget what are those centaurs or whatever they're called.
Centaurs,
This
yeah.
has been going on. This is a pre-Adamic line. This is where you get the Adamic line from Genesis chapter late to we are the Adamic line through Seth that replaced Abel. And then you have these other lineages. And this is what's hard for Christians. We're like, what are you talking about? No, they exist. They might look like us, they've crossbred with us, but they exist. And this is what I think is fascinating. So Genesis chapter 3, verse 8 says, and they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. I just freaking love that. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. Here are the three questions. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, first question, where art thou? Question one. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. So four things Adam replies, there's four things that man will always do. Okay. So he says, I heard your voice. I was afraid, I was naked, and I hid myself. Four things. I heard your voice. I was afraid. I hid myself because I was naked. Okay. Second question God asked, who told thee that thou was naked? Third question that God asked, hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? So God asks us three questions every single day. Where are you? Brenden, where are you today? Lucas, where are you today? My children, I talk, where are you today? How's your heart? Is it soft? Are you walking in my love? Are you breathing? Are you present? Whose voice are you listening to? And did you do the thing I said don't do? And all that can be summed up is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And this is all the law and all the prophets. So all the 613 mitzvah and all this, pardon my French, but bullshit is erased because everything has called us to, do we love God with every freaking fiber of our being? And do we love people? Okay, so those three questions. But then this is what's a trip. And I just think, so God, so they all answer, and the man says, the woman beguiled me, and the woman, um, uh, she gave me the fruit and I did eat. And he asked the woman, what is this? That was done. He said, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. And then he goes to the serpent and he just starts cursing the serpent. And he tells the serpent, um, dust shalt thou eat. So let me find it real quick because really, here it is. Um, Okay, so and unto Adam, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles shall bring it forth to thee, and thou shalt eat of the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it thou wast taken. Okay, so here it is. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. We've heard that, right? It's like you've heard that saying. It's kind of, I don't know, in Western movies or something. It
Yeah.
gets like infused in culture. But you know what we skip over? Genesis chapter 3, verse 14, it says, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. God tells the serpent first, dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life, and then tells Adam, you are dust. The
Well,
serpent consumes the Adamic race. That's what the serpent's line feeds off of. This is why the world is the way the world is. And so then you have the Canaanite bloodline, which are the blue blood reptilians that
I was gonna
interbreed
say
and then
this is
keep their bloodlines and are not, and think they already have the kingdoms of the earth, because it says, and Cain built a great city and named it after his son Enoch.
yeah.
Wait, you don't build a city if there's just a few people. You build a city when there are thousands, maybe millions of people. And he was so great that he named it after his own son. Now there's Cain's Enoch, and then God as always has the last laugh. And then
Yeah.
there was Seth's lineage, Enoch. And Enoch of the book of Jude says Enoch the seventh from Adam. And you're like, seventh what? It's not the seventh person named. But if you read the lineage, it's the seventh high priest, because there used to be two high priests. Cain and Abel were high priests bringing sacrifice before God. Cain brought blood sacrifice and Abel brought blood sacrifice. But it says in the process of time, Cain brought of the fruit of the ground. So he stopped bringing a sacrifice to atone for everything that they were doing. And God had respect to Abel, but into Cain, he did not have respect to it. And then God asked Cain a rhetorical question. This is so cool. I freaking love this because this, I think, answers. God told me one time in prayer, he said, if you don't understand the beginning, you'll never understand the end. And I'm like, yeah, makes sense to me. Let me go study Genesis. And so he says, it says, but into Cain, Genesis 4, but into Cain and his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, here's the rhetorical question, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? Like, he says, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? Like, you already knew because it says in the process of time, Genesis 4:3, and in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground. So Cain and Abel were probably 120 years old. They were old. There was already a city that Cain named his son after. There was people everywhere, and they were the two high priests. And then Cain kills Abel, and it says there was not a man to call upon the name of the Lord. And then you get in Genesis chapter 5, this is the book of the generations of Adam. So all of a sudden we go through Cain's line, and Cain rules the earth. The Canaanites ruled the earth, and the Cannibals, because Cain ate Abel, ruled the world. The blue blood reptilian race ruled the world. And God then says, this is what's fascinating, because the Adamic race, which you and I are of, are this like, we're just surviving because we're the light. So it says in the book of Genesis chapter 5, this is the book of the generations, the genealogy, the genetic code. And what does all these people want to do? What was Epstein all about? Trying to recreate a new race and species of humans, even though
Yeah.
they hated humans. So they hate the Adamic line. They were trying to get bodies that didn't have the breath of God's souls, but a body taking form, which is why AI, they thought if they could insert the chip and they could run the body like an autonomous
Yeah.
vehicle. But
That's
it
why they
says, this
start
is
out
the
with the
book.
cloning.
No, yeah, good point. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. So Adam was 130 years old when Seth was born. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Seth lived 105 years and begat Enos. And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years. But it says in Genesis chapter 4, verse 26, and to Seth, to him also, or one up verse. It says, and Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son and called his name Seth. For God, she said, has appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and his name is called Enos. Then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. So when Abel was taken out, no one could call upon the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
It
Because it
was
was all
when
Cain's.
Seth, exactly, they're all Cain's line. And when
Yeah.
Seth comes back, then they start calling upon the name of the Lord again. And then the book of Jude says Enoch prophesied, saying the Lord coming with 10,000s of his saints. It says the seventh from Adam. Enoch of Adam's lineage is not the Enoch of Cain's lineage. So God basically supersedes and mocks the Enoch of the
Yeah.
city that Cain built. And Enoch of Seth's lineage was the high priest. So there were two high priests, Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel. No one could call upon the name of the Lord because Cain knew everything and took them away from the proper placement that God has ordained. And then no one could call upon the name of the Lord. Then Seth is born in his line, and they start calling because Adam's teachings, because he lives another 800 years after the 130 when Seth is born. So he is teaching all that God had taught them. And here's the fascinating thing, there were no longer two high priests until Caiaphas and Ananias, or whatever his name is, in Luke. There was only one high priest until you get the book of Luke, and it says there were two high priests again. And then comes the ultimate high priest, putting the literal WWE smackdown on all these people. So whether this is literal, whether this is metaphorical, I am telling you, it's so fun to really understand. So gets back to the question, can anything go outside God's will? No. Even when the system seems so dark and God allows it all, because think of how Genesis starts. Bro, I'm talking a lot and I wanted to hear from you. Sorry, this is
You're
fun.
good.
What does Genesis say? In the beginning, God created the heaven, not heavens. The New Bible versions say heavens because they're. I'll explain why maybe on another podcast. But in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. in Genesis chapter 2. And so just count how many ands there are. This is really interesting. And is a conjunction of time.
Yeah.
And conjoins two events, and those two events cannot be simultaneous, and it is a chronological order of events. So in the beginning, God created the heaven. Okay, sorry, the heaven and the earth. So what was created first? Heaven. What was created second? Earth.
Earth.
Now, earth rearranged is also heart. And if you take the H of heart and you put it at the end, you get earth. And where did God put us? In the earth. And what is the word heaven? Heaven. Heart.
Yeah.
Heart. Heaven, even and heart, a balanced heart. First, God created the balanced heart, heaven. Our Father, which art in the balanced heart.
Yeah.
Be in God's heart. Jesus says, I and my Father are one. That he that abideth in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. If you don't abide in the heart of God, in the presence of God, you can't do anything. So first, God created the heaven and the earth. Here's another and. And there's Genesis chapter 1, 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and God moved upon the face of the water. So there's all of a sudden in Genesis 1, 2, there's four ands. There's one and in Genesis 1, 1,
Yeah.
four ands in Genesis 1, 2. And what does Genesis 3 say? 1, 3. And God said, what? Allow. Oh no, he said let. But it's the same thing. Let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. So, who was he talking to? Why would God have to tell something or speak out something to someone, perhaps? Allow it. Because, in my belief, never read this, felt like God showed this to me, Satan had already fallen from heaven and inhabited the earth. We're never told when he fell, but Jesus said, I beheld Satan fall from heaven like lightning. What is Barack Obama's name? Look that up in what it actually means. Dude, it
What?
gets super, super
What?
weird. It gets super weird.
Okay, hang
But
on.
I beheld Satan fall from heaven like lightning. When? I believe in Genesis between Genesis 1 1 and 1 2, and there's a great time gap between Genesis 1 1 and 1 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Well, how can that be so, my brother Brenden, if First John 1 9 says, God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. So to get back to your thinking, maybe the Marcy, the did God go from planet to planet? Well, he was somewhere because his presence wasn't on earth because darkness was on the face of the deep. And Elijah asked the prophets of Baal, where is your God? Is he sleeping? They already had this concept of like God not being present. Why? Because it says in Genesis chapter 6, I believe, and God remembered Noah. You're like, what? Noah's in the ark? This is where you get the archons, the archangels. It's the same phonetic sound, it's the same term. It's something interesting, but Noah's in the ark. He's supposedly one of your perfect generation, that he was just and perfect in his generations. And his dad Lamech lived 777 years old, 777, a perfect number of completion. Anyway, God remembered Noah. So then this is where you get the, well, where was God? Maybe he was doing some really cool stuff somewhere else, and he knew like they had it on lockdown. I don't know, but my whole point is we are the code breakers. We break the matrix just by reclaiming Jesus, the King, the Most High, Yeshua, and breathing. You know what we can't breathe? Fear constricts. And when we get black pilled, we don't breathe deeply. We don't stand in our power and go.
Yeah.
And so God's calling the breathwork community. They don't know. Satan cannot take what he cannot do is create. He can only take what is created and manipulate it. So God is calling all these communities right now out. You out of LDS, me out of in the Christian world, which is really funny. But we're all coming out and we're all having these conversations. We're not getting triggered. I'm not trying to prove to you anything. I don't need you to believe anything. I don't need anyone to believe anything at all on this podcast. We're just being examples of where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Oh, I am not bound, nor do I owe allegiance to any system, doctrine, dogma of any denomination, anywhere, of any cult, of any culture aligned around a specific narrative that does not allow me to experience the fullness of what God has called me to do in this world. It's freaking cool.
Yeah.
So don't be black-pilled, bro. It's all good. It's all good. All good. That's why it says to live as Christ and to die as gain. There is nothing but gain. Christ means deliverer, one who brings freedom. They say the anointed one. Well, anointed do what? This is always, you don't, they never answer the full question. When they cried out for a deliverer in Exodus, bring us a deliverer, bring us a deliverer, bring us a deliverer. The book, who you meet the character, you don't meet Moses, you do meet Moses, but you meet Joshua. Joshua is the one that took him into the promised land, not Moses. Yeshua took him into the promised land, not Moses. Moshe is not the high priest that everyone's been looking for. Yeshua is the high priest that takes everyone into the promised land. And to live as Christ and dies again. So Yeshua HaMashiach, the one salvation in God's presence, Yeshua HaMashiach brings freedom. One, it's in God's love and in his presence that we are free. And if we're free, if the Son sets free, is what? Free indeed. There's literally nothing that can, I mean, what can I say to you? Or what can someone say to me? Like, oh, no, actually, it believes this. Like, oh, well, I'll look at it, but
Yeah.
I'm not bound to it. Because our allegiance is to something that is living, is something that is alive. It's what God didn't leave us without truth in our body to check. Go, you've listened to things that are probably new here. Like, I don't know. You have to check. Is it? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just fascinating. Anyway, brother, man, I've
Yeah.
talked so freaking much. I've never done this on a podcast. Sorry about that, brother.
That's all right. I got a lot of information.
Oh, anything you want to share as we wrap, or I don't know what else you want to
Oh,
share, brother.
jeez. I don't know, man. Like it's interesting to see what's happening because I was talking to a lot of like just people at work, and then one of the witches who just came out of that and is all for Jesus and she's just
Mm,
killing it. She
amazing.
noticed that back in December, which is when me and my coworkers noticed that back in December, things just changed and got weird. Like that's when my job switched up. Like my boss started
Mm,
making short-term decisions and moving me away from stuff. And I'm like, you promised me this. And he's like, well, things changed. You're going over here now. And it's like, what happened in December?
yeah, yeah,
Like something happened energy-wise in December. Like so many people are waking up in December.
yep.
Like things are just switching. Like business people are making decisions they don't normally do. So and then we have a dictator dying once a month. So we'll see who who happens in March.
Brother, it's almost like brains got shut off. That's how it's almost like thinking stopped. And there, I, I don't want to be pejorative against even, I observed the same thing and I couldn't figure it out. And it just felt like, oh, thinking got shut down. There's still a level of thinking, but it's not congruent. It's not strategic. It's not scalable. It's not vision casting. It's like all of a sudden so checkers in a game of chess. And it's like, oh, I can't play with you anymore. Like, what
Yeah.
happened? Where did you go? Because I think we're about to enter the shift. I think this is my thesis, okay? July 4th, and I'm a patriot, and like I have an American flag behind me. I love the story of what I'm told, what it represents of freedom and individual freedom and sovereignty
Yeah.
and standing against the Vatican's power structure and all these things. Do I really believe that anymore is reality? I don't know, but not so much necessarily, but I still love those virtues, and I still love, this country, and I have so much respect for people, good-hearted people that try to make a difference in this world.
Yeah.
And I do believe if this country goes, the whole world goes. So there is something uniquely special about this country. And I have a whole bunch of theories, but I do think that Satan's little season started in July 4th, 1776. And what they declared was no kings, no king. And
Interesting.
also, the Illuminati started in July of 1776 on the other side of the water. And now, a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. A season is 1/4 of a year. 250 years would be 1/4 of 1,000 years. If Jesus reigned for 1,000 years, then a season would be 250 years. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seemed the No Kings protest popped up again.
Yeah.
So in 1776 was the No Kings protest. And now, 250 years later, the No Kings protest is popping again. I believe it is imminent of Jesus's return as king, revealed in full glory. He probably doesn't even come through to the US. Everyone's so US centric. He probably comes through Russia for all I know. Like,
Right.
whose name's not in the Epstein files? Putin's name. You know what he's like kicking out the Satanists in that country. Like, I don't know. It's super interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that is how close we are. Human design founder Ra prophesied that 2027 was going to be the cataclysmic shift of humanity's consciousness. I don't know, but it sure seems like things are lining up. You have the Trump. How did Trump pick? Let me ask this, and I personally love Trump. People can hate him. I don't care. It's not like I said, I don't care because I don't see him as a president. I see him as a role like Judas might be the role that brings ushers in. It's a
Yeah.
role. And 1 Corinthians 15:52 says, in a twinkling of an eye at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. They're like, what the freak? Well, who was his vice president that he picked in his first term? Last name was Pence? Trump Pence? The trumpets? What in the F is going on here? The trumpets sounded, and people either had hate in their heart or love in their heart, and it got exposed. If you hate, he'll take the hate. And if you love, he's taking the love. But there is something bigger going on. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
that it's Donald Trump, and he is definitely not a savior. What I believe he is an incredible archetype of paving the way because even John the Baptist said, I must decrease so that he may increase.
Yeah.
Bro, it's a fun time to be alive. It's a fun time to be alive. It's not easy. It's not easy. But if you can zoom out and see that, and everyone listening, if you're listening this long, I don't even know, but everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It
We know
is.
how it turns out.
Yeah. It's made okay this far. I thought 2020. I mean, I was preparing. They had a internment camp down about 15 miles down the street from where we were on Indian reservation. Like they were preparing. It was happening. It was full bore. Q comes out and says they never thought she would lose. Hillary is supposed to usher in the nuclear World War III using Iran. Look what Iran's doing right now. They're bombing everyone indiscriminately. They're saying, think if they had think if they had
The
nuclear
actual
weapons,
nuclear
and
weapons.
and
Yeah.
I think this is my prediction that we can end. I think they're going to prove that the uranium that Iran has was sold by the United States under Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and Barack Obama, who gave them $1.27 billion in cash to pay them off. And Q said they never thought she would lose. What Trump's presidency was, and immediately they said he was colluding with Russia, and that was all proven false. And the Steele dossier and all the things that the Clinton
Yeah.
Foundation proved. But Russia has been demonized, and Russia is the only country that's kicking out Satanists. And it's like everything is opposite of the truth. And God is sovereign and we're alive and we're having this podcast and it's going to go out in the world and people listen all over the world this podcast. I mean, I've been getting people in China listening to this lately, India,
Wow.
people all over the world this podcast is listened to. And it's not even that big, but people listen to it. And I hope that this conversation, and I do feel bad. I hijacked the whole time. I just got
You're good.
excited about these topics, brother. Um, that people just have hope and courage that it's all good. And anything that brings fear cannot be true because truth is the only thing that brings us freedom. Fear has never made us more free. Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." The King James Bible says, "Make you free." And I don't even, I, every rabbit hole talking about King James, oh man, I can talk about all the Bible versions that exist in the world. I can talk about who's on the boards, everything. It doesn't matter. The King James Bible is the only Bible that uses the word make. Every other Bible will use the word set, which is a passive term. The truth shall set you free. No, the truth makes you free. It is intentional, it is alive, it is moving, and when we align to it, are so much more powerful than when we listen to fear. Perfect love casts out all fear. Fear is an acronym. I used to hate it, like it's so quaint, like false evidence appearing real, but it is. It,
That's
it is. It is not true. Therefore, it cannot make us free. Therefore, anything that makes us afraid is not true.
yeah. I find fear also stems from a lack of knowledge or experience.
Dude, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Once you like, I don't fear a lion unless I know that that lion's hungry and I happen to be in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because I have that knowledge.
Yep. That's
So,
right. That's good. And
or
the
I
Bible
guess
says, my
no,
people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So,
yeah. No, it's I use that analogy wrong, but I was gonna say that like a lot of people try to tell me to fear God, and when you look up fear originally in the Hebrew, it means respect. So
mhm.
I really hate like the whole term of fear God be God fearing, and I'm like, no, I don't fear God, I respect him.
Yeah.
Because if I feared him, it means one, I'm living not the right way, and two, I don't understand him. Like if I understand that I'm living poorly, he's going to punish me. If I live right and I follow Jesus, I'm going to be
Mm.
fine. There's no reason to fear him.
Yeah,
Just
it's
respect
interesting.
him.
In Ecclesiastes, it says, "Let us hear the whole conclusion of the matter. Fear God and obey his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." And I, for so long, wrestled with, fear the Lord's beginning of wisdom, and all these things. So like, blah, 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 and I was just going down this. And then I realized one time my wife said, she was telling me at this retreat that I'm like a bathtub without a plug in the drain, that she fills it up and then it just goes right out. And I saw the rejection in her. She said, "You say your love language is words of affirmation, but I keep filling you up and it never seems enough." And I saw this deep, deep, deep rejection inside my wife's eyes. And I
Mm,
realized, because I was still afraid of just how I was grew up and the dynamics even that are alive to this day, that I was scared to let someone truly love me, because if they loved me, if I dropped all my walls, I might die. So I had to be willing to die to receive fully my wife's love. And that's when I realized ahava in Hebrew, which is every time the word love in the Bible is mentioned in Hebrew Bible, it's the word ahava, ahava, and ahava means to give. So love is always giving. For God so loved the world that he gave.
Dave.
That's why we call it father, because it's not just a masculine, but it's the energetic, penetrating giving. The
Yeah.
masculine energy penetrates and gives. Well, what are we? The bride of Christ. Blah, 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 blah. It's stupid. They don't teach the truth. We are to receive. So the greatest act of love I can give God is to receive his love. Guess what? It says
Yeah.
that our God is a consuming fire. So the greatest act of love that God gives to us is to receive our love. So to fear God is to give him our fear, and he takes it. And when we give him our fear, we create capacity inside of ourselves to have more room for his love. And it is a symbiotic, like breathing, releasing and receiving, like the trees release oxygen and we breathe it in, and we release carbon dioxide and they breathe it in. It is that relationship between God and us. That's why it says in Psalm 1, "And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season, that whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." So it is not to be afraid of God, it is to give God all fear. And in giving him all fear, we receive all his love. And that's the relationship. That's why it's wisdom.
Yeah. That's why King James Version says charity instead of
That's
love.
right. Charity is a benevolent
Yeah.
goodwill and love towards our fellow man. It's such a higher perspective
Yeah.
and
You're
plane.
giving
Yes.
love.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so much more than just the word love.
Yeah,
But
that's right. Dude, that's right. I love it, man. Let's do more of these. I promise I won't talk so
yeah,
much. We should do
you're good.
we'll do like a Bible study series or something. That would be pretty fun. That'd
That'd
be
be
pretty
cool.
fun.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. I have so many different versions. Like we can go into the cultural, we can go into the archaeology, we can go into the Orthodox.
I love it.
We got so much options.
I love it. Hey, Second Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." We are to study
Yeah,
and to divide the word of truth. And it's like, well, how do I know it's true? If it makes me more free. If it doesn't make me more free, then it cannot be true. Anyway, brother, I love you. Thanks for coming on. Where can people find you, follow you? I'll put all your information in the show notes.
the best way is probably on Instagram and Facebook. That's where I'm most active. So you can just find me there, Brenden.Whitney.
Awesome.
And then yeah, say
Good
hi.
job, brother. You're on an awesome journey. I'm honored to share this conversation. Actually, now I feel bad. I hijacked most of our time together. But you
That's
did
okay.
inspire me. You got me. I don't know. I feel very fired up. So thanks for coming on, bro. And let's do more.
For sure. It'll be
Awesome.
fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Brother Brenden, thank you so much for coming on. And again, sorry I talked so much, but I look forward to our future episodes together. And everyone go support Brenden. I'm going to put his Instagram in the show notes, follow him and give this brother support. And wherever you are around the world, I am sending you love. It is okay. Do not let despair, dread, fear, worry, anxiety override the power of God's love in your life. That is what you and I are to claim and reclaim again every single day. Everything is going to be all right. The TV is a projection of lies that creates fear and broadcasts spells to control our mind. And when you can reclaim the power of your mind, the Bible says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind." When you can reclaim that for yourself, everything's going to be okay. I look forward to talking with you on the next episode. I'm Lucas Mack. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you then. Thank you for listening. If you're struggling to break free and need support, go to my website at lucasmack.com. There you'll find resources like videos and ebooks, and also information on how to work with me for coaching. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.